What?
Oh wait, I can airdrop it to me and then send it to you.
I think the mics
It's
are on
2:25. We're
Are
not
they?
starting yet.
Yeah.
Or are we?
No.
No? All right.
Well, there's no music.
225.
Don't yell at me.
We have an unruly audience member.
Do what makes you happy.
Okay. You don't have to yell at me. God. See? You can't make me cry. See? You can't make me cry.
What?
What? Oh, come on now.
That's what you signed up for.
I welcome it.
I love how all of the support for Mica disappeared.
Sweet.
They're like, no, it's fine.
Don't make Mica cry. Asterisk.
Except for Chris.
Unless you're Chris.
Unless you're Chris. Are you still rolling ones?
No.
Okay. Are you lying to
That's
me?
a 2.
No.
That's an 8. That's 12. That's
Oh no, but I'm
not a 1.
till 2:30.
What was it?
This is a 1
Just
0.
saying.
Okay, that's
It is
fine.
very uncomfortable.
That's like 10 times
We
more
could
at
just turn
least.
something on. And just,
We're fine.
What happened?
we want to turn on some music.
Don't like the music song.
Oh yeah.
It's very uncomfortable.
Here, I have an idea. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, do it.
Is it chill hop? Please tell me it's chill hop.
Can we both play chill hop at the same
No,
time?
not competing. Not competing.
It's chill stop if you do that.
Oh.
Chill hop.
Nice.
No, hold on. Dang it, you beat me.
There we go.
But I had
Oh
such
wait,
a
that might
really
get
good
that might
joke.
get copyrighted.
Oh, that might get copywritten. Yeah, we can't.
Wait, does it get copyrighted? G noted. Like I had to swipe up an octave because that's the time we live in.
Yeah, I know. Well, I
over.
immediately would have done that, but
I was trying to do it from the very beginning and it just won't load.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. Yours was funnier.
Oops. So
Still
are
have
we?
2 minutes.
We have 2
Are we?
minutes.
Are we gonna stay here for 2 minutes?
Yep.
All right. Cool.
We're not starting till 2:30.
On principle.
There's someone in the con running here right now, and I am not going to make them miss those 2 minutes. Yeah, they might.
There's also an itinerary, like
Yeah.
scheduled down to the minute.
I know. Oh, here we go.
did you do it?
Oh, don't. No, that's
It's too late.
copyrighted too.
Is it copyrighted?
No, that's me. Don't do that.
Oh, that's smarter.
I'm gonna put chill hop back on and talk over it.
No, everybody listen to me sing.
When I was.
Copyright claim me, I dare you.
No, thanks for the fraction of a cent.
You're welcome. Paid in exposure. Literally.
Ooh.
Nah.
Just kidding.
0.001. Wait, I think it's more. I don't know. I don't know numbers.
Everybody
numbers
throw
are hard.
pennies at Nate. That's what he's trying to say. Wait, don't. That would hurt.
No, thank you.
Just
All right,
put a
fine.
bunch of pennies
it's
in a
2:29.
Oh, we're on a screen.
Look, but
now.
Look, there you are. We were
They're here. Give it up for them. Come on.
Ah, that's us.
Yes. I'm
are
watching
those
the
guys?
clock. I'm waiting for it to turn
still
2:30. My itinerary says 2:30.
Really by the book?
What if you
Well,
go in and edit it to say 229?
I could do that.
You could
I
do
did
that.
write this itinerary.
You
It
did.
is my authorship.
You can.
So you're just really stuck on listening to yourself.
Look, it's about boundaries, Jonathan.
That's fair. That's fair.
My boundary is still 15 seconds away. There it goes. Okay. It's 2:30. Welcome to the D&D Presents panel. Woo! Yay. I am going to be your de facto moderator, but I'm also one of the cast members, so let's introduce ourselves in order, starting with Shady Penguin. Oops, I already introduced you.
Wow, I don't get to introduce
you go.
myself.
You go.
Hi, my name's Jonathan Indovino. I'm known as Shady Penguin online. It's fun time. That's it.
Yay! I'm Anna Prosser. I play a lot of Dungeons & Dragons. I also work for Twitch as managing producer of creator development, and I'm the co-founder of Cantrip.
Hi, I'm Nathan Sharp, also known as Nate Wants to Battle. I do a lot of stuff, and also a co-founder of Cantrip.
Hi, I'm Mica Burton. I have nothing to do with Cantrip other than I like wearing it. Everybody should go out and buy Cantrip.
Hey.
And I do lots of stuff online with like Overwatch and D&D and stuff. So yeah.
And I'm Chris Perkins. I'm a dungeon master. And I make the Ds and Ds, which is good for the soul.
Yeah. And we wanted to take a second because we're here to talk about D&D Presents, but we know a lot of you are probably fans of Dice Camera Action. So
Are
Chris,
you?
So Chris, I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah, really just a short note saying we had 4 great seasons of Dice Camera Action, and on behalf of everybody who worked in front of the camera, behind the camera, I just want to say thank you. It was great to be part of that community, and I just want to thank the Waffle family. I want to thank the Waffle crew for those 141 fantastic episodes. We couldn't have done it unless we were all together doing it, and I am excited, super, super excited to be able to just get behind the DM screen again.
Yeah.
And tell more stories. And put these guys through the emotional ringer that I'm so well known for.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, I have a very strict itinerary, and we have so much we want to tell you about D&D Presents. So, other than that, we're not going to talk about Dice Camera Action today. So, if you have Dice Camera Action questions, bring them after this panel. We won't be talking about them in this panel because we're so excited to give you kind of a look behind the scenes of what we're planning to do with D&D Presents and give you a chance to hopefully influence us as we're still creating our characters. So, we have a few questions we want to ask you, see what you like, and hopefully ask for your help in rolling some things. So we're going to get through that. But with that, we get to reveal our logo for D&D Presents. Please show us the logo. That's D&D Presents. We're really excited about the play button because we're really, really excited to play. But Chris, what's that? What's D&D Presents? What are we doing?
What's happening?
What's happening? Yeah. So this is like a show under the D&D Presents banner. It could be the only show under the banner. It could be one of several, depending on how well this goes. But we're going back to just playing D&D, live streaming it, and focusing our game on tying into products that are coming out for Dungeons and Dragons, so that we can show you how to use them in your game. But it's also a chance to discover the stories of these 4 new heroes and how they are going to affect the Forgotten Realms through their adventures and their actions. So it's a combination of, hey, I'm going to put together some fun D&D adventures for you guys, but you guys are really going to shape through your actions and decisions where those adventures go.
Yeah, and we're going to be playing usually the newest D&D adventure products, but people are always like, if I'm going to play Curse of Strahd, or if I'm going to play one of these other things, I shouldn't watch because it might spoil it. What do you respond to that?
I say you're pretty safe because we try to do spoiler-free as much as possible. And one of the things that I love to do as a Dungeon Master is take the stuff that we've produced and jumble it all up and kind of switch things out and make things my own by way of illustration, so that other Dungeon Masters can feel like they can do the same thing. They don't have to run our published adventures exactly as published. They can tear out the pieces that they like and just use those in new and interesting ways. Plus, as you know, I like to customize stuff for my game group, and I also want to show DMs how they can do that too.
Cool. Yeah, as you guys know, Chris writes the stories. So he not only writes the stories for everyone, then he kind of rewrites them for us. So it's a real privilege. Thank you, Chris. Also, how can people watch and participate in this show? Chris?
I was wondering.
Well, they can watch it live streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/D&D, just like some of our other shows that we have on our little mini D&D network of Twitch shows now. And then if you don't catch it live, of course, we will post them promptly up on the YouTubes.
You can also watch the Twitch VOD.
You can also watch the Twitch file.
If you want the chat.
Yes. And we will keep them up, and then we will rerun them so I know some people like at different time zones and things like that, so we'll just try to be as accommodating as possible, make the shows appear as quickly and make them as available as possible.
Yeah, and we just got confirmation as well. A lot of people really love to consume this via podcast, so there will be a podcast version as well. Yeah. I'm glad so many people are excited about that. Now, this is a deeper question, Chris. We know where, we know vaguely when, but why? Why does Wizards want us to do this?
Because D&D makes the world a better place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more D&D we put out into the world, the more people can see something that they will want to try to do, and they'll discover new friends, and they'll be happier for it.
Yeah. That's actually how I started playing D&D.
Yeah.
A D&D stream got me excited about it.
Exactly.
Cool.
And there are so many different styles of play, so many different kinds of dungeon masters, so many different group compositions that you really can watch D&D 24/7 and not have the same experience twice.
Right. Now, the last question, a lot of people are probably like, okay, but when? When does this happen? When do we get to start watching? When is it, Chris? I have it on my itinerary, but I want you to say it.
So we have a plan to start the actual streaming in Q1 2020. And we'll have some stuff, exciting stuff, kind of to tease it out and to lead up to it. Like, we don't exactly know exactly what it's going to be yet, but it's probably going to be like a session 0 kind of experience, if you know what that means, sort of like the pre-adventure adventure. We're going to do something like that and then roll that out to build up excitement for when the show actually launches.
Great. Okay, cool. Now I want to talk to the cast. Now that we kind of know what we're going to be doing. Mica, I'll start with you.
Hi.
And actually, we can all just chime in, but sure. I want to ask about previous experience with D&D. What other D&D have you played, either on stream or not?
My first experience was actually a Wizard stream. It was called Destiny and Doom, and it went for a season, and it was really fun. It was my first foray into D&D. And then I played a home game with a good old DM right here. This boy DM'd me, and that was really fun. I was recently on Critical Role, which was really fun. Yeah. And D&D Live. I did a live stream there, and then just playing one-shots with friends. So I love D&D. I could eat, sleep, breathe D&D for the rest of my life, and I'd be a really happy camper.
I just had a vision of you inhaling dice.
Listen, I've been instructed not to eat these, as pretty as they are, but I will try one of these days.
I will actually stick these up my nose if somebody incentive to do so.
No.
No, all right.
Nate, what about you?
So before being in the streaming world of D&D, I had only really known like one-shots and parties that had a session 1 and never went beyond that. So yeah, DCA was like my first extensive experience, and then after that, the home game I DM'd for Mica and a bunch of friends was my other, not only second extensive experience, but also my first time DMing. I also ran them through Curse of Strahd because
he rocked it. He was a great DM.
Oh, it was okay.
No, it was amazing. He does like mood lighting and music and everything.
I do.
He's great.
I have my smart bulbs with different scenes to set the mood and good music. So I'm just like, it's going extra. Also, I would always make mojitos, which I also think made.
I mean, like you were already great, but then like we'd get there and you'd have craft cocktails for us. So like top tier DM.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a difference between a regular mojito and a Barovian mojito?
Oh.
The Barovian mojitos make you cry?
Fair.
I don't like those.
Yeah, that's kind of my background.
Great. And we have a lot of shared background, but I actually started playing D&D with a group called Misclicks. That was a group of women who were trying to make more and more content on Twitch that showed women doing gaming things. And we played for, 4 or 5 years, and we played a 2nd edition homebrew game. And so because of that, I had known a few people at Wizards who invited me to join Dice Camera Action. So I actually played live on stream for like 2.5 years before I ever played in person with anyone or rolled a real die. I used all digital things. So, and that's probably why I'm making up for it by buying every dice that I see everywhere. But yeah, and then been a part of D&D Live and a lot of like even in High Rollers and just as many games as I can get my hands on. But I've been playing since, like 8 years ago now, but I still feel really new because I'm not I played when I was a baby kind of thing. What about you, Jonathan?
So I've played D&D probably over the past 2 years. A lot of one-shots. My friend Brett would host them on Twitch, and we've done a bunch of that. That was about 2 years ago. And then I have a home game that I've been a part of that's been going on for about 8 or 9 months, and I'm so invested in this story and character. He's a druid. This is my first campaign I'm playing a druid. Druids are broken. If you druids?
Druids broken, yeah.
Druids! Yeah, so I literally like Mica said, I could eat, sleep, and breathe D&D now. Like I'm still so fresh. Obviously, only 2 years, but it's like the best getting to be someone else. It's so good. I love it.
Now, I want to ask all of us, because we talk a lot with each other about how excited we are to play with this group, and this includes you, Chris. We're all
thanks.
so excited. I mean, the question includes you. We're excited to play with you, and the question includes you. But I wanted to let everyone into why we're so excited to be playing with this group. So why are you guys so excited to play with these people for Dungeons & Dragons?
Well, I've known you two for a bit, and so just being able to play with my friends is super exciting. And I admire Chris as a DM like crazy. And the first time I met you last night, you were wearing a Disneyland shirt, and I was like, oh wow, this dude and I are gonna be best friends. Like immediately off the bat. And I feel like just even the past 2 days that we've been hanging out, like it already
Family
feels
meals.
like a family. Yeah, we've had family meals,
Super
and
good.
like we bond super hard,
Yeah.
and our humor is all just meme-y on the same level. So
Disney
it's-
and memes.
And I'm
Yeah.
twice as old as them, so it's twice as hard for me to pull it
got
off.
it. I don't know. It's just it's a
We bonded over cookies.
Oh,
true.
yeah.
We're just a bunch of nerds that like math rocks and pretending to be someone else. And I don't know. It's just it feels so much like a family. So I'm stoked.
I was going to say, too, I think not only do we have a lot of fun together, but I think some of the best role play comes from when people are willing to be vulnerable in play, like willing to kind of put themselves out there and try to do something fun and risky and see how that works with a group. And so I'm excited that this group seems to feel really safe with each other and also willing to kind of put themselves out there, because I think, especially with Chris's specific style of DMing, that's going to bring some really like fun and also some very emotional points. So
I haven't seen your backup characters yet.
Oh God,
God, don't say that to me.
Chris,
Yeah,
we
we've
haven't even done
also-
session 0 yet. Come on.
what?
You guys have anything to add?
Well, I've been friends with Nate for like 5 years now, and we've gotten to play exactly 2 like rounds of D&D, like two nights, and that was it. So this is like, for me, just going to be so much fun to get to play D&D with my friend, because that's what it really, like Mica was saying, that's what it's about. I definitely think that it's just, let me sit down at the table with some friends, pretend I'm not your friend, and we'll just be different people for the night. It's great. And like Mica said, it already feels super easy to jive with each other. Like we're all on the same wavelength. It's super exciting.
Yeah,
and
it was
obviously
fun,
Chris
it was fun
Perkins.
over dinner just listening, because I didn't do a lot of talking, you may have noticed. Just listening to you guys talking about how your characters might interact in the first few sessions. I mean, not married to anything yet, but just thinking about what those connections are, and hearing all of your character imperfections were great, because I'm thinking of a million ways to use those.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was a point last night where we got so into talking about our characters, and I had noticed Chris hadn't been talking. I look over and he's there
just on my phone
he's
taking
notes. I'm just like,
I don't know why we haven't learned yet. Like, never say something that your character is vulnerable about around him, because all of a sudden it's gonna come back and bite you like 30 sessions later.
The DM will remember this. Yep.
But like, to back up what Shady was saying, like even just the little bit, this is the first time we've all been together like as a full group. There's just like a really, really good, positive, like bright energy to it, which I'm very thankful for, and I know is going to make some really, really fun sessions and really fun storytelling.
And like, I think when we first started, you started a text group, and the fact that the first 10 texts is all capital, like just all screaming, I was like, this is gonna be good.
Now, I wanted to ask all of you too. I asked Chris the why of like, why does D&D want to do a show like this? But for each of you, why do you want to be on a D&D show like this? What is your motivation? I think for me, a large part of it is D&D has made such a positive impact on my life, and especially playing D&D with a large-scale community where people can bounce ideas back at me and teach me things about myself that I didn't realize from how they react to my characters. It's something that's really special for me personally, but then also something that I want other people to experience. So I want to do a D&D show because I want people to watch and be like, I could do that, and I could be part of a family like that. And I don't have to know every word in this giant scary book. I can jump in and my friends will help me. So I think that's why I like streaming D&D.
I think another thing is that I think the fact that this is like a weekly stream show is probably the only way you can actually get people to show up weekly to play D&D.
Yeah. Oh, we had scheduling issues for
So
our
many.
home game.
But the second is just like, it's a show. It's like, okay, I will be there.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we can consistently play now, yay.
And I think that rolling off of that, it's going to be the thing that I look forward to every week. Like seeing D&D on my calendars, it'd be like, all right, Tuesday's going to be the day. I'm so excited. I get to play D&D with my friends for a job. Like that's amazing. And also kind of piggybacking off what Anna said, I am such a advocate of found family. So I feel like just to be able to show that, hey, this really cool nerdy thing can find you a family if you feel lost or like you're alone. Like you're not. We're all here drooling over math rocks together, and we can just continue to do that. So yeah.
That was such a like soft, kind applause. Like,
Yeah.
yay, how nice.
I think playing with Chris as the lead story designer of Dungeons and Dragons is also a really big reason.
Yeah, that really that has to be the only. You can
Yeah.
just have that. Like I can just be like, yeah, Chris
That
Perkins is here, so I want to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine because it's Chris freaking Perkins.
Yeah.
But
Everywhere we've been going today, like Chris is getting stopped and like getting like signing autographs. We're like, that's our DM.
That's our DM. We're so proud. There he goes.
he's gonna break my heart. Can't wait.
All right. With that, we're ready to start our description of our characters. And this is, yeah.
Oh my God, they're real. It's happening.
I am
This is the
horrified.
first, I know, this is the first time that we have publicly said their names, except for the very few people who we have already met that asked for the signatures of our characters. So you are blessed in knowing their names. But we're ready to show off, if we could, the images of our characters. If you could bring those up. There they are. And those are actually in almost seated order, but let's start with you. Just a brief description, Shady,
Yes.
and point your character out and describe them.
So Valence Knight is on the far left, holding the quarterstaff.
That's the far right.
He is a.
That's their far right.
Far
Like
right.
if you're looking at it, it's your
far left.
You guys, you have to
Valence is
clarify.
pretty dumb, by the way. Intelligence level's low. No, okay. So far right for you guys, holding the quarterstaff. He's a tiefling sorcerer, and should I say anything else? Or that's
We'll go to more later.
Okay.
But 'cause
I'm just excited.
I know. It's
Okay.
okay.
All right.
My character is next from your right. That's Delviny Pine. She's a bard, and she's holding finger symbols, as you can see there, and she's a half-elf.
Do we go in that order or our order?
Oh, I can skip.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mica.
okay.
Oh, okay. So the short little tiefling you see there, her name is Setsuna Lune, and she is a cleric.
Yay.
Yeah.
And my dude on the far left is Rainer. He is a human fighter, and as some of you can probably tell, he has some affiliation on his shield with the Order of the Gauntlet. So there's something for you.
And that's the first look of our characters. So we're going to deep dive into this a little bit. We're going to describe each of the characters. I know. Aren't they?
They're right there. Like, can you see their faces? I'm so excited about it. Like, oh my God.
So now, Shady,
Okay.
now is when we dive in. So
Okay.
give us a backstory, just whatever you would like people to know about your character now, because they're going to be helping us make a few decisions. So whatever you want to tell them so they get some context.
Okay. So Valence, or Vale, probably going to be calling him Vale a lot. He was disowned from his village at the age of 15, and he's been living alone for the past 13 years. So he's about 28, and he was kind of shunned because he was the first tiefling in his area to be born with magic. And he didn't really know how to control it. He hurt someone close to him, and they kind of wanted him dead. So he's kind of just been living on his own, very recluse. But he's a sorcerer, and he's really excited to be here.
And then my character, Delviny, she's very, very young. So as a half-elf, she's not necessarily young in years, but she's certainly young in experience and kind of maturity. And she's well known in her little neighborhood for being an excellent storyteller, kind of taking some inspiration from Anne of Green Gables' story girl type of stories. But she knows that her stories are limited to the experience that she's had. So what she really wants is to go out and adventure in the world and take journeys and gain stories. And that's kind of the most important thing to her. So that might mean that she's getting into a lot of mischief. It might mean she's kind of poking at things that she shouldn't because she's really prioritizing getting that story. So she plays a bit of music, but she mostly plays it to accentuate the story she's telling, or writes a song to tell a story. So she's more of a word bard than she is a music bard. And I think some things about her family will be revealed. I don't know if we want to reveal all of that yet, but
Maybe not quite yet.
yeah. But she's a half-elf bard. The end. Your turn.
So with Rainer, I took a really interesting, unique approach for making a bit of backstory in that he doesn't have murdered parents. They're alive. He has a nice family who are also alive. He does not have a tragic backstory. He has had a good life. And if anything, that kind of, that drives a prominent trait where he's very do-good because he recognizes that he actually is pretty privileged, and he sees that everyone deserves that good of a life, so he takes it upon himself. It's very much the whole line of just like, you know, there are people out there laying down their lives for others. That's the least I could be doing. So he's very much just in search of the next right thing to do. References. But yeah, and then as you saw, he had a Order of the Gauntlet shield. He served some time there. He's like ex-military type guy. He worked with them, left, but not on like bad terms. He's just like, okay, you know, this isn't completely for me, so I'm gonna go try to do my own thing. And they're like, oh, all right, you're a cool guy, you know, have a good one. You can keep the shield. It's like, all right, cool. I'll represent, you know, what's good.
Party favorite.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, man, keep it. It's like, cool, yeah, I'll just rep, you know, I'll do some brand deal with Order of the Gauntlet or whatever.
Exposure.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's kind of his deal.
Rainer's an influencer.
He is an
He's
influencer.
Hard left from that happy backstory. Setsuna was orphaned and attempted to be sacrificed by cultists as a child. But the death god Baal saved her, and she was tricked into a cleric pact with him, so now she is a death cleric. So she's a little bit tortured and sad inside always, and I don't want to give too much away about her. But
it's so hard not to just like.
I know. I want to like
story
spew my entire backstory, but I want to save some for later. But yeah, that's.
I am looking forward to the two tortured tieflings.
Yeah, like
playing
why
off
do we
each
have
other.
sad
I'm
tiefling
so
time?
sad.
Like.
I'm so I have so much anxiety about there's two tieflings in our party, and I'm one of them.
Also, two sad tieflings.
Yes,
like we
very-
don't have
yes.
like one like.
Which one will look up to the other? I just don't know. Like,
Which one is going to get into like a I'm sadder than you are contest?
yes,
Like,
yep.
like, oh no, you were exiled? Yeah, well, my parents are dead, so.
Oh, I blinded my mother.
Yeah, well.
Did you kill your parents?
No, but are you entitled to a death god? Like, fight me, man. Like,
All right.
but Rainer is going to try to help them too.
Yeah, Chris, actually, could you outline a little bit of the setting and how the party knows each other and how they're all going to come together?
Yeah. So Rainer is the linchpin, and in his attempt to try to get a band together to help him toward this good cause that he's pursuing, he has a long list of people that he's looking for. None of them want to go with him, so he just strikes them out. He gets down to the list, and then he just starts to learn about you guys, or recall you guys from some brush he had with you in the past, and seeks you out and figures out that you're the only group that he can really put together at this time. And he's going to try to make the most of it. And he comes up with a party name for the group to help, you know, unite them together
is that a secret?
toward a common goodness of helping people.
Are we dropping it?
Are we dropping it?
Are we dropping it?
Should we?
Yeah.
So he wants to call it the Order of Ready and Courageous Helpers, or Torch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is.
Yeah, you know, I've heard of that, the Order of Rad and Cool Hipsters.
That's not what
I
it
think
stands
you mean,
for.
what was it? The only
red crab here.
The only red crab here.
No,
That's
it's-
us. We're the only red crab.
Or like, you know, too old, can't hang.
Ooh.
You forgot the R.
Too old really can't hang.
Yeah. That's it.
None of those are what it stands
That's
for. but-
absolutely
Yep,
what it
that's what it
stands
stands for. Yep.
That's not what it
But
stands
anyway,
for.
we're gonna dig around to see what kind of name we're gonna settle on for the group to call themselves. That will evolve organically, I'm sure.
The only red crab here. We've talked about this.
Clearly.
I guess what do you mean?
I guess it's a done deal.
God.
That's what the title under D&D Presents will be.
The only red crab.
And it will change every week, probably.
Yep. So now this gets to the point where these are the things we know about our characters, and a lot of the other things are kind of still being developed, and we're feeling them out. Some of them will happen during the show. Some of them we're still trying to decide before we start, and that's where we would love to have a little bit of your input. So each of us has kind of got one thing that we're deciding on that we would love to have you vote by hands or cheering or something like that. So do you want me to start, or do you want to
should
start?
absolutely start.
Okay. So here's the thing with Delvini. There's a type of half-elf that she can be. She can have two different marks. She could have mark of storm or mark of detection. The reason I'm stuck between these two is I like the idea that maybe Delvini's family has this like seafaring past, and that she sees that as where she got this talent for telling stories, that her ancestors would go all over the world and they would gather these stories and they would come back and then everyone in their town would want to hear their stories. And that gives Delvini things that have to do with water and wind and kind of control over those elements, which is kind of fun and separate from all of the other stuff that she has as a bard who tells stories. She also has College of Lore. So that's already kind of set there. But the reason I'm thinking mark of detection, A, because I'm tired of playing characters that have such horrible perception. And I think that someone who's a storyteller must have very good ability to observe everything around them. So it seems like detection would fit really well with that, but doesn't necessarily add a different dimension to her character. So again, we're not necessarily held to whatever you guys decide, but I'm curious your thoughts on which you'd like. So cheer if you think she should be Mark of the Storm. Okay. And then who thinks she should be Mark of Detection? That's really even.
That's too
Really
close.
even. Wait, let's do show of hands.
Yeah, okay, show of hands for Storm.
That's a lot of hands.
Okay, that's a lot of
Okay,
hands.
show of hands for Detection.
Crap.
Almost the same amount
that
of
didn't
hands.
help.
We should roll for it. Can you roll for it? Can we get someone to roll for it in the audience?
Okay, who has a die? Raise your hand. Who is wearing cantrip and has a die?
Ooh.
Back there with your hand up, roll for me. Hi.
Hi, Chris.
Roll for me. If it's 10 or above, it's, 10? Yeah, 10 or above, it's detection.
11.
11 or above.
There it is.
The up half.
1 to 10, 11 to 20.
Yes, the down half is storm. What do we got?
He's about to roll it.
We have witness.
18.
That was detection.
Detection.
Yes.
All right, detection. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you for your feedback. I appreciate that. Who wants to go next? Okay, Mica.
Mine is kind of on the same vein, but not as deep. Like your reasoning had a lot of deep
agonizing.
diving. So tieflings have a lot of variants, and I was like, whenever I play tiefling, I usually play the same old just tiefling with hellish rebuke. But there's Levistus?
Yeah,
tiefling?
Levistus is good.
So Levistus tiefling has you get the Ray of Frost cantrip like at level 1, and then when you reach the 3rd level, you can get this armor spell as a 2nd level spell, and you regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. And at the 5th level, you can cast the darkness spell once with this trait and regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. So I'm kind of choosing between those two because like Hellish Rebuke is cool, but also like starting with Ray of Frost is also cool because I'm playing with Chris as a DM. So I'd like to have some more things in my pocket.
Ice choice.
Oh God. So I guess we'll do the cheers for normal tiefling and Levistus?
Levistus.
I'm saying that right. And Levistus tiefling. Okay, so first for normal tiefling. Wow! Oh my God!
Wait, well, let's hear the other.
All right,
Well,
wait,
let's-
okay,
yeah.
okay.
The other
so
one
then
might get nothing
cheers
either.
for the other one.
Wow.
Thank you.
The people have spoken.
Right? They were like, no, you need the shields. Do you know who you're playing with?
I can't begin to tell you how well that's going to work into the 2020
Oh no.
experience that we're going to have.
Oh.
I could barely contain myself last night at dinner when you brought it up.
Real? Oh no, God, what have I
I'm going to remain a normal tiefling.
I didn't want to influence you at
On
the
that
time.
warning.
So with
All right, who's next?
Okay, so as a sorcerer, Vale, this just came up at dinner last night. Like, we're still really developing, or I'm still really developing my character, and I'm leaning towards Chris and the rest of the crew to kind of just get some insight as a newer player. And it came up the possibility, because Vale basically is Elsa and hurt someone he loved.
Not affiliated with any large
No.
conglomerate. Just a woman named
Yeah,
Elsa.
just a woman named Elsa.
Yeah.
He really identifies with her. No, like I want to know if it's obnoxious for Vale to have wild magic, or is that something that is good to watch? So if it's something good to watch, can I hear your voices? All right, wild magic. That's good. Thank you.
I love wild magic.
I'm excited, but also still scared.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I don't have any control now, and I just have wild magic and Chris.
You're also the only party member with a magic item currently.
Oh, right.
Oh, I do have a magical item. No, I'm not saying anything. Shh.
Yeah, I think the wild magic surge table is my favorite table in D&D.
Yeah.
Period. It's my favorite. You.
So, I don't know. There's one particular trait. It's not nearly as exciting as any of that, but there's one particular trait he has that I'm on the fence about, and that's basically because like every time I play D&D, there's been some sort of magic use, and I'm kind of thinking like, what if I just like, even if it's not even remotely a little access, just a straight up melee fighter, no magic, no spells, no like nothing. So I'm debating if I want to like make it a trait of his to where like he like will refuse to use magic. Like there was one session I played with him in a one-off to like test him out, and he was given this like magic hammer, which was so cool and so dope. He took it. He's just like, all right, well, I don't want this, so someone else can take it. And I want to see if that's an interesting trait. So should he like refuse magic or be open to magic? So, you know, cheer if maybe open to magic or refuse magic. Slightly louder. And Clippy also approved. So, okay, cool.
Great.
No
Oh my
magic.
God, there's a
no magic
Clippy
for
in the
this guy.
audience.
Okay.
Oh.
That was very helpful. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, Chris had this great idea earlier that we didn't realize we could pick trinkets, and we haven't done that yet. So we want your help picking trinkets. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to roll on the trinket table for 4 trinkets, and you guys are going to do the rolls. And then once we have those 4 trinkets, we're going to try to assign them to each of the players by our discussion and maybe asking you to help us if we can't decide. So again, show of hands for who has a die.
Who has
on them.
percentile dice?
Oh, percentile dice.
Yeah,
Yes,
who has
good call.
percentile dice?
Hands
Okay,
did not
Mica,
go
you
down.
pick first. Pick someone
Okay.
with percentile dice.
Pick someone with percentile dice. Oh God, this pressure. You're in the front. Yes.
All right, I'll start writing them.
You're going to write them down?
You're gonna write 'em
I'll
down?
look up where they are on the table.
Okay. Oh, God.
10?
Oh,
10.
10. Very nice. Okay, hold on. I got to find the table. There it is. 10 is the deed for a parcel of land in a realm unknown to you.
Whoa.
How was that helpful?
How is that not helpful? That's amazing.
But in a land unknown to you, it's like,
Property's a great investment.
it's a great investment.
you can
That's your
build an
retirement.
Airbnb on it.
Yeah, great.
Can we like somehow?
It's the Waffle House.
Yeah, never mind. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Now, next one, Nate, will you pick? Raise your hand if you have percentile dice.
Okay, let's see. I see a waving hand with 2. Yep, that you're the one. That's it. You got it.
23 is a brass orb etched with strange runes.
That sounds magical, bro.
All right, I'll pick the next one. Raise your hand if you have dice. I saw your hand in the back way there, like with the glasses. Yes, you with your thumb up. Roll for me. What is it? Oh, okay.
Cool.
Please be a funny number.
It's a fun number.
It is 27. Thank you very much. All right, the 27. There you go. All right, 27 is a shard of obsidian that always feels warm to the touch. Ooh. These are all so fun.
These are all great.
All right, your turn to pick someone.
Okay, I need someone. I'm gonna go yellow shirt right there.
All right, what is it?
62. Good roll.
So close
Good
to 69.
roll.
So close.
It is a silver skull the size of a coin.
A silver what?
Silver skull
I already know which one I
the
need.
size of a coin.
What is? Okay. I just wanted to see which one 69 was.
Okay, so 69 is a crystal knob from a door.
Thanks, Dungeons and Dragons.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, so Nate, will you review our items for us,
Yes,
please?
we have a deed for a parcel of land unknown to you, a brass orb etched with strange runes, a shard of obsidian that always feels warm to the touch, and a silver skull the size of a coin.
I'm assuming the skull is what you want.
I was going to say the symbol of ball is a skull, so I kind of want to go for the skull.
Does anyone feel like they should have the skull more than
I'm seeing the other two.
Setsuna?
Think.
My guy rolled it.
What?
And Vale's pretty sad.
I mean,
He's like this close to death on the inside.
yeah, but like the god of death is on my side.
Okay, well, let's talk about the other one. Sure. You have the brass orb etched with strange runes. I'm thinking that the deed of land is something that actually might make sense for Delvany if she has this like ancestor traveling past. Like maybe one of her extended family had brought back this deed for this land that nobody knows where it is, but she has it because someday she's going to go there.
I like that.
That makes sense.
That's really cool.
Okay, I'll take the deed. You guys
All right.
approve? Okay, great.
You now own property.
Nice. All right, the others are the orb and
And
The obsidian, which
that always feels warm.
I have reasons that Raynor might have the obsidian if nobody objects.
So then it'd be the brass orb and the skull that would be left for the tieflings.
I didn't hear objections, but are there
listen,
objections?
if you want the skull, I'll fight for the obsidian.
I don't. It's not.
But there's a nice brass orb etched with strange. Did I mention the runes are strange? They're strange.
You know what? I want the strange runes. You just sold me on that. The way you
All
said
right,
strange.
all right.
Yeah,
Strange
can I
runes.
have the
Strange
strange
runes
runes? Okay. Thank you.
Which means that I will take the silver skull.
And you've got the obsidian that always feels warm. But what if it's magic?
Ooh, we already have conflict.
Chris is
Is it
like, and
warm
this
to-
is how I can get him killed with that. All
got
right, putting
notes.
that away for later.
Got my notes.
It's actually just coal that he constantly uses. Weird. This is totally obsidian's warm all the time. Check it out. It's coal.
It's just coal. But you can keep telling yourself it's obsidian.
I can.
Great. So that was actually very well executed. You guys are very helpful. I assumed that was going to take way longer, but it didn't. So
The items were all so cool. Like those were awesome rolls.
yeah. So we're going to have time for Q&A. Not right now, but I wanted to give you a warning to think about your questions. A couple guidelines. If what you say is not a question and it is a statement, I will say, thank you, bye-bye, and that will not serve us. So make sure that your question is actually a question and has a question mark at the end of it. Also make sure that it's a question about specifically D&D Presents, our characters, our stream on Dungeons & Dragons. Those are the guidelines. And I have been a panel moderator long enough that I'm not afraid of you, and I will tell you to sit down if it doesn't fit those guidelines. Okay? Thank you. Before that, while you guys are thinking of your questions, and if you want to, you can start lining up. There's a mic there and a mic there. You can line up at those. But as you guys are lining up, we have time to talk about how the party knows each other and where they'll start out. Chris, do you want to reveal what setting that we're going to be in?
Yeah, we're going to be in the Forgotten Realms, or at least my version of the Forgotten Realms, because everybody who runs the Forgotten Realms campaign is basically running their version of the Forgotten Realms. This is mine, but it cleaves pretty closely to what we've published in our books. We're going to have a short sort of mini season to kick things off at using materials from the D&D Essentials kit. So kind of centered around the Phandalin area, which a lot of you know and are very well familiar with, which is good because then I can just focus on the characters and less on the setting. But then we're going to roll into the first sort of big regular season after that short season, and then we're going to go into a product that will not release until summer of next year. So you guys will be previewing it.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
This will be the big story for 2020.
Wow, that's a reveal even to us.
Yes.
That's
so
exciting.
you guys will be the first ones to rocket into that.
I have goosebumps.
I know, I'm so excited.
Genuine.
Legit.
Oh, she really
I
are there.
really do. Yeah. And when you say we're in Phandalin, can you tell us what product we'll be using in there?
We'll be using the D&D Essentials kit.
I like that one.
Yeah.
That's my fave.
Yes.
Okay, great. And then we did already talk about like how Rainer's kind of the person who's gathering the party and everything like that. Are there any other connections of how the party knows each other that we want to say now, or do we want to save that for session 0?
We can probably
personally-
save that.
yeah,
Okay.
Something may come up in a question that somebody answers,
That's
and I
true.
think that's fair.
Yeah, we have
to
some
answer
good
that.
questions. So
Yeah.
should we go into Q&A?
Yeah.
Does anyone want to say anything before we turn the floor over to these lovely people?
No, they're very lovely. I want to hear from them.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with the first lovely person in line over here.
Thank you. Chris, first, welcome back. My question is, will there be any opportunities for crossovers with other Dungeons & Dragons groups?
Great
that are streaming?
question.
Good question. The answer is I'm always open to crossovers with other groups.
Thank you.
Conspiring with other DMs is my second favorite thing to do.
God. Awesome. Yeah, I can't imagine, because of how much time we spend with the Penny Arcade people, that we can't find some way to play with them. I don't know. I haven't asked them, but I assume that will happen at least. Over here.
I saw you were using the Dragon Mark rules. Are you guys going to be using more content from Eberron and possibly going there?
Chris?
We will not be going to Eberron, but I'm pretty loose as a DM about pulling stuff in from other settings, including stuff that we haven't even released yet, like, hey, I can throw some Spelljammer stuff into this campaign if I want to. Yeah. And I will. So if a player wants to play with some Eberron material, Dragon Marks, whatever, I'm all for it.
Cool. Thank you. On this side.
So my question is along the same veins. A lot of the Unearthed Arcana stuff that's coming out is pretty fantastic, and I was just wondering, all of us DMs have people want to try new stuff, and I was wondering if that's a thing that we might end up seeing on the stream is Unearthed Arcana stuff drops, and then you guys tinker and play with it.
Yeah.
If you guys want to play with any of the experimental stuff in UA, you're more than welcome to.
Cool. Yeah, Chris has always been, you're really cool that if we come with a good case for why we should do something, even if it's not something somebody else wrote or in the UA, you're usually pretty cool with it, right, Chris?
Yeah, as long as you didn't create it yourself. I mean, just, you know.
So
No?
I will bring an argument as to why Rainer should be able to dual wield and also use a shield.
I tried that with Evelyn and it didn't work, so if you can.
Will that argument involve a third arm? Like, are you just
Maybe. I don't have the outline yet, but I'll send copy.
Good question.
Thank you. Over here.
Hello.
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 I was wondering if any of the main cast characters were canonically trans or non-binary.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think I've thought about that for my character yet, but it's a good thing to consider. Do any of you guys?
I haven't thought that far ahead yet.
Yeah, I don't think that's been developed, so thank you for putting it in our minds.
Yeah.
Thank you. Over here.
Yeah, are you going to stick to the format of DCA, or do you have any new creative ideas for this new stream? And if so, could you let us in on any secrets?
Format of like the stream itself?
The approach.
The approach.
The way, what we're going to see on the stream
Oh, I see what
itself.
you're asking. So as far as I know, it's going to be very similar. We'll be calling in each of us into a central call, and that will be the show. And then we would like to continue having live games at conventions like this and panels and things. So I would imagine that the format will be very similar to DCA, but I have also been told that Wizards really wants to level things up and make it an even better presentation. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, we want to improve what you see on the screen visually, without taking people's eyes off of you four magnificent people.
Cool.
So we're going to step up our game technologically too, I think, by maybe rigging us with a lot of similar equipment.
Oh, right. So we all sound similar.
Yeah, exactly. Because that can cause some issues.
Right.
And has in the past.
Great
and then
question.
any opportunity we can get together to play live is great, but we also acknowledge that 2 of our cast members live in Seattle and 2 of them don't. So
Yeah.
And you've been missed.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Next question.
I have kids who are getting into watching D&D shows, and I'm wondering how all ages friendly this show may or may not be.
That's a great
to get
question.
my kids psyched about it.
Chris?
Chris.
I would like to be did I just hear like
Like a chipmunk?
is it a chipmunk?
Some sort of bird?
Yeah. So D&D, our core game is basically set for level like ages 12 and up. So ideally, I'd like to be able to have 12 and 13-year-olds enjoy the game as much as possible. That doesn't mean we can't have little scares now and then. I mean, I saw Night of the Living Dead when I was 5, and I didn't turn out too far wrong.
Great.
But we're going to try to keep it away from super mature content, I think.
And I think as in terms of profanity, if that's something you're concerned about, we try to keep it minimal, but it's not non-existent. So I would say that's kind of a PG-13-ish rating.
Yeah, it's hard when you're doing a spontaneous show.
Right.
And to always be on guard against that, but we're not going to do it to any excess.
Yeah, so I would say it probably depends on what you're comfortable with for your kids particularly, but I think that benchmark is probably, the 12, 13 range is what people generally would think of PG-13, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, good question.
No, thank you. That's a great
Yeah.
answer.
Over here.
Hey, so now that we've gotten to know the names of your characters and a little bit about them, have any of you considered any sort of accents or types of voice for any of them?
Yes, I'm tortured by it. Yes, because I loved being able to differentiate between, like, say, Evelyn's voice and my voice so easily because she had a little bit of an accent. But I also want to be as respectful as I can toward any kind of accent, or English as a second language is different than an accent of English for those reasons. And then the ones that I were considering, like, I thought maybe she'd have an Irish type accent or something like that, which I don't have a lot of confidence in yet. So it's, am I willing to do an accent I'm not very good at until I get good at it and let people make fun of it for that long? Even though I will say, this is something I hold very tightly to, that any accent you do in D&D is not actually, like, it wouldn't be an Irish accent. It would be some random place in the D&D world that is my character's accent. So I hold very tightly to, you don't actually have to be good at an accent to do it. But I'm not sure if I'm ready for that yet. So I'm going to practice a few and see, because I would like Delvany to have a different voice than me or a different way of talking than me. But I also have actually heard from, it was Taliesin that was talking about this, that if you can make a voice that's different than yours without doing an accent, that's like the ultimate voice actor accomplishment. And so I've been trying to think about that too.
That's how I usually play my characters, is I don't usually go for an accent, but I go for a different cadence, and I go for a different speech pattern, so I can differentiate between, like, Mica and, like, all my characters, but it's still, like...
Yeah. I just like doing accents too, though.
Accents
So
are
I'm-
fun!
They're so much fun.
Yeah.
But I
so-
also know me, if I start crying, my accent will slip, and then I'll hate myself for it. Like, no one else will comment on it, but, like, if I get into a really emotional situation and it slips, and I watch it back, I'm gonna be like, you dumb Mica, you awful human being, and then, like, I'll get down on myself. So I think that I'm gonna find where Setsuna's vocal range is and where her cadence is and what type of language she uses. Like, does she speak in large, hard-to-understand words? Is she very quiet? Does she speak in one-word sentences? Like, where is that? And then that's where her character will grow.
Yeah.
I think for Raynor, for a hot second, I consider like a New Zealand, Australian type thing, but he's a little bit too like a lot of people were asking, it's like, oh, is your character gonna be like another like funny meme, ha ha ha, like jokes? And so like, no, he's a pretty like straightforward, like serious guy. And I think doing that kind of accent would have, from like just a character design standpoint, those accents are a little bit too welcoming, and he's a little more stern. So I think what I landed on is it's, like you said, it's going to be a different voice without an accent. He's, like I said, he's military. So for the most part, he's just going to be a little more like stern and projected and a little bit more just like kind of serious to differentiate from me. But it's not going to be a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think for me, the only thing I've settled on with Vale is because he's lived in seclusion for so long, he kind of forgot how to form sentences properly. So, like an unaffiliated character named Starfire, how she kind of speaks foreign, that's like the only thing I've really settled on with Vale, is that he's gonna kind of skip articles and certain words and probably mess up a bunch of times. So it'll be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, great question.
That's a good
Thank
question.
you.
Thank you guys so much.
Over on this side.
Hi there.
Hi.
I wanted to ask Chris, you mentioned earlier on that this is going to be the first show under the D&D Presents banner, even if it might be the only show under the D&D Presents banner. Do you have an intention to try and push for like a kind of a mini series, doing smaller episodes where you kind of explain the things that you homebrewed and your logic behind them?
Oh, kind of like a behind the scenes, behind the DM screen.
Yeah,
thing.
things like, this is what I homebrewed in this session, 3 weeks ago, and this is why I did it the way I did.
Oh, okay. Sort of like a deconstruction of the game as I'm going along. That, I hadn't thought of that, but I think that's an interesting idea. I'm going to talk to my producers to see what I can do. Because I think that's informative in a different way. You can sort of watch me DM, that's one thing, but if you actually... I've done similar things like that before with like DVD commentaries on my games for Robot Chicken, stuff like that, where I basically deconstructed the game and went back and talked about why I did the things I do. I could do that here. Would anybody be interested in seeing that?
Yes!
Apparently, nobody's interested in seeing that. So I'm just going to shut up.
Just the
that's
title,
a really good idea.
Just the title alone of Behind the Screens
Yeah,
had
that's
me
really
hooked. I'm
good.
just like, oh, that's branding.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I personally thought it would be a really good idea for those of us who DM.
Oh, that
Thank
sounds
you.
amazing.
Yeah, really good.
Thank you.
All right, back over here.
So a lot of D&D live play shows are very difficult to follow along. You fall behind off because they're very, very long, 4-hour episodes.
Yeah.
One of the things I really appreciate about DCA was that it was a very digestible 2 hours. Do you know what you are planning for D&D Presents as far as episode length goes?
An hour and 45 minutes per episode.
Thank you very much.
We agree that is the best length for D&D streams, for us at least.
Yeah.
We've talked about. I don't know about you guys, but Chris and Nate and I have talked about that, and we feel like it's really
And we
good.
may go a few minutes shorter once, a few minutes longer otherwise, but 145 is kind of what we're aiming for. It lets us, I'm usually pretty good about pushing the story ahead and keeping focused on the game, and I've found that length to be really, really good, and just timing-wise, for people who need to catch up, it's a heck of a lot easier. Yeah.
We also have done in the past, and I'd love to figure out ways to do this with this show as well. We've done like catch-up keys, like Chris once did a puppet show that was like the quick version. So we're aware of that challenge, and we'll try to help people get caught up if they don't want to go back and watch. Although that's what I always recommend.
We can also do a bit of a catch-up at the start of each season. Every time we break to a new setting or go to a new product, we can kind of do a soft restart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also don't think, this is just a personal thing, but a lot of people are like, oh, I can't just jump into the live stream if I'm trying to catch up. I think you can do both at the same time with D&D. It's still such a good story that even if you know what's going to happen, watching it happen is still really fun. Yeah. So that's just my take. Anyways, thank you. Next question.
Welcome back to some and welcome to others. I really anticipate the new show. Thank you all for doing it. The question is, I'm torn between two, so I'll just ask the one that is really important. So I'm assuming this is going to be on Twitch, but I feel like there are other streaming platforms that have a large D&D community, but just don't get the same focus. Like Mixer has a huge, they have a D&D community that's just still burgeoning, but it's like I wish there was more there as well. Is there any consideration of other stream platforms for D&D Presents?
As an employee of Twitch,
I understand.
I will look at Chris and let him answer that.
Not as far as I know, but I'm not usually privy to those discussions, so it's a bit of a guess on my part, but I think the producers are just looking at Twitch for now.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over here. I think we just have time for a couple more. Go ahead.
To get a feel for each of your play styles, I was wondering in previous games what some of the most emotional moments for your characters might have been, if you remember them.
Oh.
Can I go first? Can I just go?
Yours is
Can I
really
just go?
good.
Okay, so Keep in mind, this is my first character in the campaign. Will is on a quest to raise his dead father back to life because his father was a human, his mother was an elf. His mother did not treat his father kindly, like never loved him. She was very prominent in royalty and such. So I get to a point in the campaign, months in, where I am able to obtain a resurrection spell and a potion of youthful restoration, I believe it is. Regardless, I'm going to make my dad young and healthy, and he was dead. So we bring him back to life, me and my aunt. He's alive, but he's pretty old. He's not like old to dying. He died of sickness. So we're feeding him the potion, he's drinking it, and all of a sudden his stomach is burning with acid because my uncle who gave me the potion poisoned it to re-kill my father.
Isn't that horrible?
It was insane. I actually did not sleep that night, and that's not an exaggeration. I literally did not sleep.
You also talk about it a lot. I think it's still very present.
It hurts! It hurts me!
How much do you have to hate a person to be like, they're dead, but that's not enough?
Yeah, like...
They should do that again.
Insane. My dad's still dead in that game, by the way, so...
Again.
For a second time.
Someday I'll hug him. He didn't even hug me. Stop.
Oh my God.
You guys, one of you want to go? Most emotional?
I had a moment in our home game. It was, so I was playing a ranger, and it was right, like we just leveled up so I could classify as a beastmaster, but I hadn't gotten my animal yet. And my character, Fen, went off into the woods. Like, we were having some emotional trauma in this game. It was Curse of Strahd, so of course it was emotional trauma. And she went off into like this really like self-hating, self-harming spiral, and like went off into the woods alone to cry. And Nate, as a very gentle, brilliant DM, like walked me through this, but like it ended with this brilliant white wolf coming out of the woods and like partnering up with her, and like that's how I got my beast. His name is Xander. He's a wolf, and I love him. But like it was like sobbing like at the table. It was, I think, the most emotional moment I've ever had in D&D to date, and I can't thank him enough for being so gentle, because I was like seriously sad. Like,
No, I'm glad it worked out.
yeah, no, it did. You gave me a puppy.
It's a good boy.
It was a good boy.
I can't pick one.
There's so many. When you've been playing with Chris this long. I'll say there were tons, but probably the one that I remember, I think the emotional moments that I count as the most impactful are the ones that just like open these floodgates in me, and I have so much that I have to get out that it makes me create things. And we played at the first D&D live stream, we played a live game of dice camera action, and we learned at the end of one episode, I won't go too far into it, but basically the last line in the episode was someone saying to Evelyn, "You can save your friends, but you will have to die." And that was like, and that's where we'll stop. And so Evelyn, in my head, planning her own death for the rest of the week was so loud that it was like, she wrote letters to all of the other characters saying goodbye. She wrote a will. She was thinking about mortality and what comes next. I have goosebumps even still really talking about it, because it was so instructive to like, I finally saw her living separately in my head from me, and I was just telling her story and also thinking about like what it's like to know you're gonna die. It was like a lot. So that was probably mine.
Yes.
You know, I am so sorry. I don't think we have time for any more questions.
Unless we can like speed run them, like lightning round one person.
Oh yeah, Chris, what's your most emotional D&D
That
moment?
time I TPK'd everybody and didn't feel anything.
Oh my God!
And that's where we'll stop.
Sorry, I just wanted to end on a happy note.
That's where we'll stop.
And that's where we'll stop.
Well, there's some extra notes for you, Chris.
We actually do have to. That's where we'll stop.
Yeah.
So right before we leave, though, I want to say, if you want to meet the cast or give us any of your questions that we missed, which I'm so sorry, we are going directly from here to the Cantrip booth, which is just
right downstairs from here.
Yeah, straight downstairs in Brandland. And we will be there for the next hour, signing, saying hi, answering any questions, taking any of your ideas that we didn't grab. So thank you. And then, is there anything else you guys want to promote?
I just want to say this is an evolutionary process, and these characters are going to continue to develop over the next few weeks, months, and stuff. So we will be showing them off in more finished forms. New ideas will come up, and we'll just keep you all in the loop. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming.